Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. Ty Hildenbrand here. Dan Rubenstein over there. solidverbal@gmail.com. As always, is the email. And don't forget, as you're watching, as you're listening, as you're living these college football games in week one of the brand new 2016 season, you should call our reverb line, where we take your voice messages. We will cut them up when we do our review show, and we'll play them back for your very ears. The phone number is 408-VERBAL-1. That is 408-837-2251. All calls are welcome. Dan Rubenstein, what up, brother? How are you?
Ty, every day is so wonderful. And then suddenly it's hard to breathe. Now and then, just like anybody else, I get insecure from all the pain. I am so ashamed.
Is that Christina Aguilera beautiful?
Yeah. I am beautiful, no matter what they say. Your words, nor your comments about Oregon's defense can't bring me down.
Dan, tell the fine people where else they can find us beyond our reverb line, beyond our email at solidverbal@gmail.com.
They can find us at twitter.com/solidverbal. They can find us at facebook.com/solidverbal. They can add us on Snapchat. I did a Q&A on Snapchat. Did you notice that?
How'd that go?
It went really well. It's different getting questions when people are recording videos of themselves asking the questions.
Yeah.
So that was a new thing where suddenly I was like actually seeing the person ask, hey, can Virginia Tech beat Tennessee and Bristol? And I would answer, yeah, maybe. Gerard Evans is really good. So Snapchat, Instagram, we're going to be doing some fun things there. All over the place. I don't know. Solidverbal.com.
SB Nation Radio starting this Saturday.
Oh, that's right. SB Nation Radio later on in the week. We'll be doing a show for all sorts of affiliates of SB Nation Radio, multiple dozens of affiliates. So, man, there's too much Dan. I think there's enough Ty, but there's too much Dan.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to share another one of these journeys with you. I don't know what season this is for us. I guess this would be season number 9 of the Solid
Oh, my
Verbal.
God. Nice. Yeah.
It seems like week one snuck up on us, and we've got some exciting news, some more exciting news that we're going to tease now and share a little bit later on in the broadcast, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's definitely okay with me. Our U.S. Open picks, correct?
Absolutely.
Nice.
So, week one is finally upon us. We've done Verby shows. We've done scheme theme. We've done game shows. We've done a whole bunch of high
fantasy things
stuff. Yeah. Here in the off season, we've said it time and time again that it feels like week one sort of snuck up on us. And all the years we've been doing it, for me anyway, it feels like week one got here a little quicker than most of the other ones in the past. And that's part of the reason why I'm so excited about it. We've got in front of us here a worksheet of 8 huge games that are set to take place starting on Saturday, progressing all the way through Labor Day, with Florida State and Ole Miss on Monday evening. There are a bunch of other games which we'll highlight briefly, and some big ones, I think, in the Patriot League, if I'm being honest.
Am I going to hear a sound I haven't heard in a long time?
I think maybe we should pick some games.
Dan, time, help. I need picks of the week.
Did that feel good or what?
I just don't feel... I haven't said lock them up. I think I did lock up Texas against TCU Thanksgiving weekend, but I have not locked anything up. I haven't called for a trap. I haven't called for anything big in so long. It felt right. My back cracked just thinking about it.
I spent a significant amount of time, and by significant, I just mean more time than I'm willing to admit on air.
Okay.
Refamiliarizing myself with my soundboard.
Mm-hmm.
It's right in front of me. I'll take a picture of this. It took me a while. This thing is like the Matrix in front of me. It took a little bit of getting used to remember where all the buttons were, to reconfigure things, to get the lock and the backdoor cover and the shootout and the losing effort. All the essentials here within a finger's reach.
Mm-hmm.
I am fluent now on this soundboard, and I am ready to go. I feel at ease, Dan.
Oh, wow. Okay, I like it. You've taken a couple laps in the car, and you're feeling good.
Let's talk some college football, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's start on Saturday. It is a high noon Eastern kickoff on ABC. The game is between Oklahoma, the Sooners, last year in the college football playoff. They are a 10-point favorite against the Houston Cougars. This one being played neutral site, but not really. Not really. It's in the NRG Stadium. In the great city of Houston, Texas, Dan.
You said it, not me.
I am fascinated by this game in week 1.
What fascinates you?
I am fascinated because I'm assuming Oklahoma wants to lean a little bit more on their running game until they can figure out their number 2 wideout.
Mm-hmm.
And that's interesting to me because if you weren't paying attention last year, and I know you were because I saw you posted it on Twitter.
Yeah.
But if you weren't paying attention last year, you might think, hey, a blue blood system like Oklahoma with Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon, they're going to run all over an AAC team.
Yeah.
Au contraire, Mr. Rubenstein, Houston, did you know, had a borderline top 10 rushing defense last year?
I would say a securely top 5 rushing defense. I think they were the number 2 rushing defense against FBS winning teams, only behind Alabama. And they were the only team in that top 10 that did not allow a team to rush for 4 yards per carry in a game all season long. So they were definitively great, although they lose key guys in the linebacking core. They're replacing a secondary, which allowed them to do various things on defense and take chances that they may not be able to take right away this season. So I love that matchup because especially the best player on defense is back for Houston. Stephen Taylor led the team in sacks and tackles for a loss. So a lot of star power when Oklahoma has the ball and Houston is on defense.
For sure. And I think the point here and why it's interesting to me, you don't usually see a non-Power 5 team have a legitimate rushing defense. We've seen it in the past, right? You saw it with TCU many years ago before they joined the Big 12. You saw it with Boise State.
Utah State under Todd Orlando, the Houston defensive coordinator, was top 10-ish most years when it came to defense. So not a huge surprise, but yeah, you're right. It is very difficult to sustain that kind of excellence when you don't have a huge depth of a talent pool.
I'm excited to see what Houston's front 7 can do against that Oklahoma rushing attack. What scares me from a Houston perspective is that I'm not sure they can contain Oklahoma through the air. This is, in all reality, a great game for Oklahoma to figure out who to pair up with D.D. Westbrook. Because the obvious weakness here is that Houston secondary. Again, they got talent, but it's just so new. And I think Oklahoma's going to move the ball and score points. I think they're going to be able to do it through the air. What I don't know is if they can do well enough to distance themselves by 10 from the Houston Cougars in a game like this, you know?
I do know. I have Houston covering in this game. I don't have them winning outright, but I think to go to Houston, and granted, the Houston fan base is not as vast as Oklahoma's, but to go to the NERG, neutral but not so neutral, to do so with Baker Mayfield with fewer weapons both in front of him and outside against a Houston team with Tom Herman and time. And as an Oregon fan, I'm familiar with the dangers of giving Tom Herman time to scheme for a particular opponent, and with what Oklahoma loses on defense going against a very, very good quarterback in Greg Ward. I like Oklahoma 27-21. Houston covers at home. A good defense that replaces a lot or a good chunk with a bit of a home area advantage against an Oklahoma team that I think is going to be very good, but I don't think is good enough to separate from a Houston team that is legitimately a dark horse playoff type team.
We could be looking at a little bit of a backdoor cover here. Yeah, I had that one at the ready here. Houston's going to score. They're going to score points. The O-line's a question mark for me, as is the running back. But I'm not sure how much it really matters to Tom Herman because he's probably just going to let Greg Ward run with it anyway. So he'll come up with something to keep the offense in the game. And I kind of side with you. I think you almost got to take Houston here. Not so much to win outright, but to cover the spread. Sort of a home game.
Early game, too.
Early game, sure. Tom Herman's had time. I like more points than you. I say 34-27 in favor of Oklahoma.
Okay.
Probably a big game through the air for Baker Mayfield. That's what ultimately wins it. But I think this will be an impressive showing for Houston. They will prove that they weren't just a flash in the pan last year.
Fair enough. We agree.
We agree. First one of the year.
Yep.
Moving on. 3:30 on CBS. My favorite game of the day. Texas A&M at home in Kyle Field. A 3-point field goal favorite over the UCLA Bruins, Dan.
So Vegas sees this as even.
Vegas sees this as even. Let me ask you a realistic question now.
Okay.
Is there an upset brewing
Oh, God.
in this game, Dan?
Yes, but I'm not going to acknowledge your phrasing.
Come on, man. I had all offseason to work on that one.
That was that in Bull Mazzone. Bull Mazzone is great. I'm not sure about your
I like Bull Mazzone, but Bruin just has so much versatility.
So UCLA's defense took a bit of a hit. Deion Hollins, who was expected to play a ton, defensive end for UCLA, is doubtful for this game, which UCLA would certainly like to rattle Trevor Knight in his first game for the Aggies on the road in a very difficult place to play. This is I want to say, 44th expansion of Kyle Field since Johnny Manziel left. So in front of 471,000 people.
I was going to say,
in
by
College
now,
Station.
It's like an arcology in the old Sim City days.
Yes, it is a biodome in the worst way. I like UCLA to win outright here, even still. I like Tom Scrap Bradley's experience saying, no, is that what you call him? Tom Scrap Bradley?
You gotta say it very quickly. Scrap Bradley.
I really like UCLA's defense. I feel like their defense is going to travel. And even if UCLA's offense under Kennedy Palomalo, who I really do like a lot, you remember he ran that really good USC offense in 2012. Even if that takes a little bit of time, I'd like to see Texas A&M's defense put it together against more than just the pass. And Soso Jamabo is as talented a young running back in the country as we have. So I don't think the game's going to be all that pretty, but I like UCLA to win by, I wrote this down and I'm going to stick with it, 28-20. I think UCLA wins by 8. I think it's pretty ugly in the first half, but UCLA will deal with the Aggie receivers in a way that Arizona State was not able to last year in the open field. So I'm going UCLA by 7 or 8.
I can definitively say that we disagree, Dan.
Okay. This was tough for me.
It was tough for me too. I agree with the point spread. I think that's right on the money.
Yeah.
I love Josh Rosen. I don't like UCLA's offensive line, and I think that's an issue against a defensive line like this, which is going to be so hot after the passer. They're going to explode off the line with Myles Garrett. That's the hang up for me.
Okay.
And that's not to say I'm in love with the idea of Trevor Knight playing quarterback for A&M. Can we please step back for 1 second and examine this? There aren't enough people talking about this. This freaking guy won one game against Alabama, caught the eye of Katy Perry. Now he is dating a pseudo celebrity.
Yeah.
Lock of the week.
Lock of the week.
Trevor Knight may never win another college football game, but he's going to be on The Bachelor by age 25.
But so you're saying he is seeming like a flash in the pan to you, but you like him to beat a top 15 team. And you like his offensive line because you might be on an island there.
You present an interesting
No, it's fine.
counterpoint.
Kyle Field is a very difficult place to play. And even if both teams play reasonably well, Texas A&M should win. They're playing at home. They have a ton of talent, especially on the defensive line.
For as much offense as this game could feature, with all the skill talent on both sides, I think the defenses will rule supreme and control the game. And I just think that A&M's is better.
Okay.
They're better. So I'm going to go A&M here to win the game outright, a close game, a good game at home.
And A&M is healthier than they were last year defensively, yeah.
I'm going to go A&M 24-20, and I'm not locking it up. That's only Trevor Knight on The Bachelor, mind you.
So barely covering.
24-20, yeah, I like him at home.
Do you know what? And this again, they're healthier than they were last year. What Texas A&M's rush defense was ranked last year against FBS winning teams.
I'm
again,
sure
may have nothing to do with what they do.
I'm sure it wasn't great.
106th.
Oh, good.
UCLA certainly loses a little bit on the offensive line. Paul Perkins was one of the great underrated backs these past couple of years, but if Texas A&M can make a sizable jump, if they can become 63rd against the run against decent teams, that's pretty significant, and you have to like Texas A&M to threaten 9-10 games. But we'll see.
Who's Rosen throwing to?
Theo Howard, man. The next big thing.
Theo Howard,
committed to Oregon, decommitted, and now he's going to be the next Juju Smith. He's going to be the next Marquise Lee. I'm really sad, but I'm kind of pumped to see him.
All right, Theo Howard.
Yep.
I'm writing that name down here. Theo.
Write it down.
All right. Fair enough. Shall we move on?
Let's do that.
3:30 on ABC. LSU, 10-point favorite against Wisconsin, Dan. Who here Who here is pumped for the Dave effing Aranda Bowl?
We can come up with a better name. What are we going to call it?
They're playing it at Lambeau Field.
Yeah, that's true.
The frozen tundra of Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
Cool site for a neutral site game.
Mm-hmm.
College Game Day has seized the moment to go to a non-sterile neutral site game, so it'll be here, which is cool. This, Dan, I got to be honest, strikes me as the kind of game where the tailgating is going to be better than the actual game.
You're seeing ugliness?
I'm seeing a lot of ugliness. Like, if you can just go and hang out and eat sandwiches and drink some fine Midwestern beer, some Founders All Day IPA or Bell's Two Hearted Ale, something like that. That is the better move. Go for the tailgating, not for the game.
Why do you find the game to be... So you have Leonard Fournette. You have a pretty talented offensive line in front of Brandon Harris. Good receivers for LSU. What looks to be, even with a couple of big injuries, a pretty dangerous revamped defense for the Tigers. And Wisconsin, certainly much healthier up front on offense and at skill positions. They turn to Bart Houston.
Your boy, Bart.
My boy. I've been waiting for what feels like 6 or 7 years.
Not a lot of Barts in college football.
Not a lot of Barts. I guess home field-ish advantage for Wisconsin. Coming off of a great year of defense, but the loss of Dave Aranda is big, and he should have an idea of the talent on Wisconsin's defense. So I think I'm going to take the points, but I don't think LSU loses. I think LSU is too talented and finds a way, but Wisconsin doesn't hold Fournette in check. But I'm going to say 24-17 LSU.
Wow. So you're keeping this one close then?
Yeah, I'm going to take points. I'm not seeing a runaway here.
Okay. Bart Houston.
They were so beat up last year, Wisconsin.
They were. Bart Houston's your quarterback. It was a battle that lasted deep into the preseason. Lucky for him, now he gets to go up against his defense. Congratulations, Bart.
Oops. Yeah.
I agree with you to this extent. Wisconsin probably has some degree of success running the football.
Mm-hmm.
Because really,
they did just lose a huge offensive lineman. He retired for injury purposes. Yeah.
But I think that's their best option for moving the football. It's what Paul Chris prefers.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll be okay running the football. But LSU's too loaded on defense. It's not going to make a big enough dent for a long enough period of time in this game to really affect the outcome. What I'm saying here, when I say that the tailgating is going to be better than the game, if you are a Wisconsin fan. If you're an LSU fan, this is a great road trip. I think you're going to see all the stars aligned in this one. Eventually, they pull away. And Wisconsin's front seven might be able to keep it close for a while.
What time is kickoff?
3:30.
Oh, man, 77 degrees, partly sunny. It's a great day for tailgating.
Great day for tailgating. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time before our boy Leo Fournette goes off, or until Brandon Harris plays off the running threat, connects up with Dupree or Doral out wide. Wisconsin, remember, is inexperienced at safety. I think LSU takes advantage of that with some play action. I think they pull away 31-13. I like them to cover. I like them so much. Let's lock it up.
Wow.
Lock of the week.
I looked over all of these games, Dan, and the one I kept gravitating towards was LSU minus the 10. I think this is a runaway train. Perhaps a boat race. Maybe a boat race sound that we can play when we review these games a little bit later on in the week. But give me LSU here to cover that spread. Lock it up.
Let me ask you this. LSU has Wisconsin, Mississippi State, and then Auburn in terms of real teams in September. No offense, Jacksonville State. Do you see potentially Brandon Harris sneaking into a September Heisman discussion?
Oh, I think everyone's on the table for that.
He'll probably be canceled out because he's in the same backfield as Leonard Fournette, but I'm curious.
All right. We disagree once more.
Yes, we do.
We do have more games to discuss, but first, our sponsor for the new season, our good friends over at Blue Apron, Dan.
Nice. Love Blue Apron.
Not all ingredients are created equally, as you know. Fresh, high-quality ingredients taste better and are better for you. So it's important to know where your food comes from, Dan. We both tried Blue Apron. We both cooked the meal this past summer. I really enjoyed it. What I liked about it was that they sent you exactly what you needed. They sent you instructions, down to the second instructions for what to cook, when to cook it, how to mix it. Everything was right there at your fingertips. The packaging was cool. I'm into that sort of thing. It was neat to see how they packaged it and sent it to you. It was apparent that this company takes their food very seriously and takes seriously what they are providing as a service to not only everyone else out there, but now on a special limited time only basis to our Verballers as well. Blue Apron has established partnerships with over 150 local farms, fisheries, and ranchers across the U.S. As a result, the seafood is sourced sustainably under standards developed in partnership with the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch.
Ooh, nice. I've been to the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Yeah, beef is raised humanely. Chickens are free range. Pork is raised naturally. You sort of get the picture. Not only that, but Blue Apron can deliver to 99% of the continental United States and 99.5% of food deserts.
Ooh, okay.
Here is the way this works, Dan. You can check out their week's menu and get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/solid. Blueapron.com/solid. Some of the meals available in September: paprika spiced shrimp and cheddar grits with tomato and sweet corn, spicy hoisin,
Ty.
chicken stir fry with baby bok choy and sesame ginger cucumber salad, eggplant and chickpea tangine.
Yeah, maybe.
With Islander pepper, tomato, and couscous.
I love the fact that we could do a segment with you guessing how to pronounce words.
And finally, summer udon noodle salad with cherry tomatoes, corn, and summer sweet pepper. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. Right now, it's blueapron.com/solid. Blueapron.com/solid. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Do it.
Moving on.
Next game.
5:30 now. No windows of opportunity on Saturday. Get your chores, get your housework out of the way early. If you want to take in a quick 18 over at the links, you got to get out for that 7:30 tea time because there are games all day long, Dan. 5:30 in the Georgia Dome.
I'm at Georgia.
On ESPN, this one's between Georgia and North Carolina. A field goal line here in favor of the Dogs, Dan. I'm excited to see Kirby Smart. Are you excited for the Kirby Smart era?
Governor Smart? Yeah. I'm extremely excited to see what he does with the defense that has a lot of replacing to do. I saw today there was a story that Nick Chubb will not be on any sort of pitch count, as it were. So he will be shouldering the load. They did not announce the starting quarterback. To my knowledge, it was a quarterback X or quarterback Y or quarterback Z situation. The status of Sony Michel is unknown. It was listed as Nick Chubb and Brendan Douglas. So Nick Chubb will be spelled at a certain point. North Carolina, the last we saw of them, they allowed any and every Baylor Bear to run through, around, over, and under them.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's not great. So I would assume they will be improved on a certain level by the end of the season. Teams can be pretty beat up, but the combination of it being in Atlanta, the return of Nick Chubb, if he's anywhere near 85, 90% of what he has been in years past, and the fact that what Georgia will be doing on both sides of the ball is sort of an unknown entity. Certainly they have offensive consultant Jim Chaney running the offense, who, if nothing else, will give you a B+, A- situation. So I'm going to take Georgia here. I'm going to feel pretty good about Georgia against Mitch Trubisky in his first game in a tough environment. I really do love Elijah Hood, but I'm going to go Georgia by, I think they're winning this game by 10, 34-24.
I think it's a little closer. I also like Georgia, but you mentioned Elijah Hood. Elijah Hood, one of the best kept secrets in college football, the running back for UNC, scored 17 touchdowns on the ground a year ago. Do you think Georgia will have any difficulty containing him?
I do, but I like the fact that Kirby Smart is with Mel Tucker on that side of the ball, and while Georgia is replacing a number of guys up front, there's certainly talent there. I think more so at this point than North Carolina. So I don't think they stop him by any stretch. I think he'll probably break off a big run or two, but I think they largely contain him to a respectable like 134 yards rushing or something like that. So I think Elijah Hood has a nice day, but Georgia does enough. Whoever they start at quarterback, whether they transition Jacob Eason in a week or two or start him this week, I like Georgia to score some points.
Yeah. I'm interested to see Mitch Trubisky.
Mm-hmm.
Another name we talked about a fair amount this offseason. He's the new starter at quarterback.
What SEC team is going to get everybody way too excited after week one? I think it might be Georgia.
It could be Georgia.
Yeah.
It could be Georgia, especially with all the fanfare last year around UNC. Trubisky, the new starter, could be a better passer than Marquise Williams, but tough defense to throw against here. I expect only limited success. I think a Georgia victory, but a very Alabama-ish victory for the Dogs. One of those games where they rely on the healthy, reliable Chubb, which is important.
Yeah.
Where they throw it when they just have to throw it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing too far outside themselves. I'm thinking 28-24 in favor of the Dogs, somewhere in that range.
Okay. Yeah. Receiving wise, Georgia doesn't have a ton in terms of interesting experience. It's Terry Godwin, Isaiah McKenzie, and whoever ends up starting, if it's Grayson Lambert or Jacob Eason, I think they'll be all right. I think things are going to be fine. It's a good defense to get week one, trying to work in a new system.
Let's move to 8 p.m. Eastern.
Let's do it.
On ABC. In AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, it is a neutral site game between your reigning national champions, the Alabama Crimson Tide. They are a 10.5 point favorite now over USC. So look, I went back and checked. As you know, Alabama has played these types of games to open its season the last 4 years or so. And every single solitary year, you look at it and you think, wow, that's a lot of points. A lot of points to give. Right? Opening week, still breaking in players. That's got to be too many points. And then you watch the game.
Mm-hmm.
And every year, without fail, it is like watching something cook in a crock pot for 4 hours. You ever do that? You ever watch that?
I have.
There's just nothing sexy about it.
Little bubble here, little bubble there,
Right.
which makes sense with Lane Kiffin calling plays. Little bubble screen here, little bubble screen there.
It is just a slow, deliberate burn to achieve doneness. Like, it is a process. And it's boring, and then it's over, and they cover.
Are you comparing Adoree Jackson to onions? Just slowly softening him. Slowly turning Cam Smith into the soft celery that he is. Just slowly taking Osa Messina and turning him into the soft, starchy potato fluid that he may be. I'm just making sure.
Something like that, yeah. I think that's what happens here.
Okay.
That's what happens here. So, because we are the Solid Verbal and we're into this sort of thing, I'm assuming you're picking Alabama, yes?
Yeah, I'm picking Alabama.
Talk me through the cooking process. How does this happen if Alabama ends up covering 10.5?
Have you seen what Bo Scarborough looks like?
He looks like a bowling ball with eyes.
Yeah, he looks, and abs. He looks about 30, which is great. It's something you want on your team and not on the other team. USC is relying on guys who weren't even there in spring ball to play up front on defense. And the linebacking core is very talented. The secondary should be pretty good. They had a couple of pretty big lapses last year, but the talent is definitely there. Behind an experienced offensive line, I'd like to see Cam Robinson take another step forward. He's been sort of sloppy these past couple of years. You know, when he shows his ability, it's great, but he's inconsistent. So behind Bo Scarborough, whoever's starting, whether it's Cooper Bateman or Blake Barnett, who was announced, those are the two quarterbacks Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin are down to. So Blake Barnett, a more athletic option, do some of the things maybe that Blake Sims did a couple years ago, innovating and extending the pocket. I just think Alabama can wear them down. You can't stack the box because of Calvin Ridley and Ardarius Stewart and O.J. Howard. There's too many weapons to be taken advantage of if you're Lane Kiffin. And defensively, while they're not at the moment as deep and as talented as they are up front, they have Jonathan Allen. They have Tim Williams. They have a ton of talent up front. It's Deshaun Hand. And while USC on offense can rely on a number of weapons, Max Brown in his first game in AT&T Stadium against the Alabama defense, it just doesn't feel like this USC team is to use your crockpot analogy, they're not done yet.
No.
They need a couple of years with Clancy Pendergast to get him more talent on the defensive line. They need more time. This is an overnight journey for USC to be competitive with Alabama, and it's still daytime.
Yeah, I agree. Max Brown will end up being really good.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to end up being really solid, but just so much to ask in week 1.
31-17, by the way.
I have 31-17. By the way,
Boom.
Every point on your proverbial note sheet in front of you. I don't know if you have one.
No, it's all in my dumb brain.
Every note that you vocalized here is on my sheet.
Yes.
Verbatim almost. Right down.
We verbatim agree.
Yeah, right down to 31-17.
Wow.
Just a slow burn, man. That's what this is.
Stockton Malone, Rubenstein, Hildenbrand.
Yeah. That's what we got here. 31-17. We are in perfect agreement.
Okay.
All right, 9 p.m. now. Get your rest. Get your beauty sleep.
I was thinking right here, I was like, man, it's later than I like, Ty.
9 p.m. This is a tester for all of us involved in the college football industry.
Yeah.
On ESPN, they've got all the games with the exception of that UCLA A&M game, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson on the road, a 7-point favorite against Auburn, Dan.
Yeah.
Many people were saying that John Franklin III, the JUCO transfer from Eastern Mississippi Community College, formerly of Florida State,
Yep.
they thought he was going to be the starter for Auburn this season.
Mm-hmm.
However, last week, Gus Malzahn, he announced he is going a different direction, Dan.
Oh, in which direction is he going?
He's going with Sean White, the other flying tomato.
Yeah.
He is your quarterback. He played 7 games last season after the Jeremy Johnson thing kind of failed. So he knows the system.
Got hurt pretty quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, AL.com, our friends over there, wrote a little headline calling Sean White, quote, a steady hand.
Mm-hmm.
And why not? He did throw 1 touchdown in 143 attempts last year and rushed for 35 yards on 30 attempts.
The Auburn poster with Sean White, and it just says steady, is not that interesting.
Steady as in he stands still, Dan.
Yeah, that's true.
I think what I'm getting at here is that Gus Malzahn should start looking for employment elsewhere. He may be available after this season.
He might be available. Sorry, I just am now picturing a YouTube supercut of Sean White's steadiness. And it's just like patient, steady, dependable.
You could play
very good.
it both ways. You could go U2. You could go ex-ambassadors with unsteady.
Is that a pop music reference?
It is a pop music reference.
Okay. I need to study up.
What am I missing here? Because this is a program that a couple years ago won a championship with Cam Newton running that oop-de-oop Gus Malzahn system.
Mm-hmm.
And he did great things with Nick Marshall, who was a converted defensive back.
Mm-hmm.
Why does Auburn not have a better option that can run this system?
You need to be able to throw the ball accurately. And Nick Marshall was underrated as a thrower and somebody running the offense. He happened to be able to run, but he threw a nice ball. He had talented receivers. You've watched Sammy Coates play football. And Auburn at this point, whatever the rhythm that is necessary to run, as Jesse Palmer would say, a Gus Malzahn offense, they just haven't been able to find it. And Sean White is a little bit slight. Nick Marshall was really good, and I think now underrated. So the offensive line is pretty good. Defensively, if Carl Lawson is healthy, that's a game changer. But we've seen it time in and time out. USC was talented last year. Cody Kessler was fine. Wasn't great. And it makes a difference when you have a quarterback who is not able to keep a defense honest, which whatever combination of Jeremy Johnson and Sean White and, in camp this year, John Franklin was able to be put on the field. They just weren't able to. So maybe new Sean White will emerge. It'll be a tough test to do it against this Clemson team and to keep up scoring with this Clemson team. But I think it's simpler than we assume. It's hard to pass the ball against good defenses in the SEC.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out, is it a talent thing? Is it Gus Malzahn trying to be different? Like a mad genius? I don't know. I don't know what's going on down there. I had this game circled as something that could have potentially been interesting because Auburn has a solid defense. Clemson loses a lot from its defense. First game of the year, on the road at night, Jordan Hare, not unreasonable to think that a game like this could be closer. Quite honestly, I'm surprised the line hasn't moved in favor of Clemson because...
Really?
Yeah, with Sean White, I'm out. I'm out. Auburn might prevent Clemson from scoring 40. I'm not sure Auburn scores 17 on their own.
Man, okay. So let's take a step back. It's week 1, which is always tricky. Defenses are generally ahead of offenses, and even though Clemson's offense is basically all back, it's the rhythm thing is a little bit tricky for me with this Clemson team. Going to Jordan-Hare, coming off an off season where it's just been Clemson, Deshaun Watson, Clemson, Deshaun Watson. You know, our friends at Pro Football Focus and doing a mock draft, you know, Deshaun Watson, top of the board, top quarterback. And it's just, I don't want to say that there's some Ohio State last year to them because there's no quarterback controversy, but this is as much attention. This is much more attention, actually, than Clemson has ever received in an offseason. So the expectations for this Tiger team are through the roof. Week in, week out, day in, day out, hour in, hour out. To go to a tough place to play at night with an Auburn team as healthy as they'll ever be. I don't love this Auburn team by any stretch, but I think this could be a long season for Clemson, even if they don't lose a game. It's just going to be so difficult to maintain that level of focus. So the 7 points doesn't seem unreasonable to me. Like, this game could be a 27-20 game and be a push. And Clemson replaces a ton on defense. And while they did last year, replacing a ton on defense every year is very difficult.
It's tough. You're right.
So if Sean White has gotten better, and Auburn's certainly thin in the run game, but if this offense has clicked to an extent that they didn't last year, I don't think we can fully write off Auburn without having seen this team play. On paper, Clemson should be 10 to 14 points better. I'm going to take Clemson, but I don't feel good about it, actually.
No?
I think it's going to be a weird game. Yeah, Jordan-Hare's a really tough place to play. 34-24 Clemson. And they cover, but I don't feel good about it at all.
I've got 35-14 Clemson. But I hear you. And that was kind of along the same lines I was thinking before I heard about Sean White. But I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm stelling.
And I believe Heisman watch list wise, Montravius is on there. So
he's a big dude.
He is indeed.
So look, after Clemson and Auburn, that's your opportunity. That's your opportunity after a long day of drinking adult libations or pop or soda or seltzer water, whatever your beverage of choice is, after eating some fine smoked meats and cheeses and Lord knows whatever other junk food. This is when you go to bed. You go to bed, you sleep it off, you do whatever it is your significant other wants you to do all throughout the day on Sunday. And then you tune into our Twitter feed, or maybe just mine, around 7 o'clock on Sunday evening.
Yeah.
Before the Notre Dame Texas game starts at 7:30. It's on ABC. I will be breathing into a paper bag long before then, because this game kind of scares me, Dan.
Why is that?
Kind of scares me. Notre Dame 3.5 on the road at Texas.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about this game. The Texas defense it's going to keep this game somewhat close. If they can get their offense moving with Shane Bichelle or Tyrone Swoops or Gerard Hurd. How many quarterbacks are going to play in this game?
4.
I can see this one being interesting. And I use air quotes, interesting, for 4 quarters. Because I have a lot of faith in that Texas defense.
Texas defense against the rush last year against FBS winning teams finished the season 99th.
I know. I'm so nervous, Dan.
In 8 games against FBS winning teams. Yeah, they gave up 4.7 yards per rush. Now, Notre Dame, no CJ Prosise, but they get Tarin Folston back, correct?
Tarin Folston, Josh Adams, yeah.
Josh Adams, a good one, too. I think the matchup of Notre Dame's offensive line, mind you, without Ronnie Stanley, who is a literal and figurative enormous loss. Notre Dame's offensive line, Notre Dame's run game with that 1-2 punch against a talented, but we've yet to see it actually happen in a meaningful game, Texas defense. Texas is 30 points better than where they were last early September when these two teams played. 38-3 was the score last year.
Yeah.
They will be, in all likelihood, starting or playing a true freshman a majority of the time against a Notre Dame defense, while good, replacing a number of players. Not a particularly tough place to play in Texas. I've been to that stadium in big games. It's It's nice. It's just not that intimidating. I like Notre Dame by a couple touchdowns. Lock them up.
Oh, no.
Lock of the week.
Oh, you did me dirty like that.
I was trying to find a reason that this game would be closer than that, and look, I like the two-headed monster in Texas's backfield, two giant backs led by Chris Warren, but I gotta see something. This Notre Dame team was a fringe playoff team last year.
Yeah, and they're probably, for all intents
they're probably
and purposes,
a fringe playoff team this year.
A fringe playoff team again this year. My burning question is how many quarterbacks we're going to see in this game, as I mentioned earlier, because Brian Kelly has already said that he's playing both Kaiser and Zaire. And Charlie Strong then countered by hinting, I'll say, that he would be playing both the freshman Shane Buechele and Tyrone Swoops. He has now added the wrinkle, though. I don't know if you caught this. I love this. Swoops will be running the, quote, 18-wheeler package.
Yeah. They've done it before with some success.
I mean, that is a masterclass in marketing right there. Because no one wants to hear that Tyrone Swoops is playing quarterback. You add the packaging, you make it sound nice. It's like Chilean sea bass in the 90s, Right. The repackaging angle can work wonders. I don't know, though, how much mileage you really get out of Swoops in a game like this. I'm a little concerned because Notre Dame does lose a fair amount on defense. They had the added distraction of losing a guy like a Max Redfield, who, let's be honest, never quite clicked with that Notre Dame defense, but still was a veteran presence of some sort in that defensive backfield. So, maybe they're able to throw a few on Notre Dame. Who knows what they've got in the secondary? But I just feel like Notre Dame should be the better team. They should win this game. I think you see a healthy dose of Malik Zaire.
Okay.
I think Zaire gives Notre Dame's offense a lot of that run-pass option stuff. To his credit, Kaiser can probably run it too. He's a better runner than people give him credit for. But Kaiser is not the runner of Malik Zaire, and I think Zaire can keep this Texas defense, however talented, off balance. That will ultimately be what springs Notre Dame here.
Who's going to be Notre Dame's tight end that catches a 9-yard pass on every 3rd and 7, impossibly so, that they've done the past 17 years? Well, who's that tight end this year? Is it Smith?
Right. It was supposed to be Alize Jones, but he's been suspended because of academic reasons. So it's looking like Durham Smythe.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a football Smythe.
So yeah, Deshaun Kaiser, backup quarterback, leads Notre Dame into the playoff conversation deep into November. Yes? These are all facts.
Yeah.
And he didn't even get to play against Texas last year.
Nope.
You know what else I was thinking about when you were talking about Tyrone Swoops? I think Brian Kelly and Charlie Strong, they always show the shot of the two coaches talking on the field before the game. I feel like Brian Kelly, and this is just going to be in my head, is going to turn to Charlie Strong as oh, that's your Tommy Rees, huh? Tyrone Swoops, that's your Tommy Rees. And I never wish bad things health-wise on anybody, but it just, in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, Shane Buechele's going to sprain an ankle, and Texas fans are going to just have to talk themselves into Tyrone Swoops again. And I hope it doesn't happen, but man, does that feel like destiny.
Yeah. Maybe they can unconvert Gerard Hurd from wide receiver.
I think that's sort of putting the toothpaste back in the tube. It's not going to happen. But man, I really like this Texas team this year eventually. Okay. But this is a tough matchup week 1.
It's a tough matchup. Notre Dame's a better team. They should win the game. I still think it's a little closer than you.
You like that lock, though? You like that lock?
I hate that lock. I hate you more than anything right now. I'm gritting my teeth here. I'm going to say Notre Dame wins this game. Oh, I don't want to say it. Don't make me say it.
Give me a score.
27-17.
Okay, 10 points. They cover.
27-17. Potentially a backdoor cover. Late touchdown, kick return. 27-24, closer at the final gun than it really was during the game. Something like that.
Okay.
All right, so after this, look, you got Monday off. Go at it. Enjoy your Sunday evening. Get up, do it again. Do it again. Do something fun earlier in the day. Maybe listen to a recap podcast from the Solid Verbal. I don't know when we're going to... Have we figured out when we're reviewing these games yet?
Maybe we'll do a Monday during the day, and we'll just save the Florida State Ole Miss 8 p.m. recap for the preview show next week. Because honestly, Ty, look at the week 2 schedule. We need content. We need content for the week 2 preview because it's TCU Arkansas. The Bristol game between Virginia Tech and Tennessee, and then it's then
we're down to Pitt versus Penn State.
Oh, I mean, I'm kind of excited for that.
Monday's Labor Day. There's one big game.
Mm-hmm.
It's at 8 p.m. You've got all day to do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then tune in to ESPN, another ESPN game. This one's in the Florida Citrus Bowl in Orlando. It is between Florida State and Ole Miss. Florida State is a 4.5-point favorite over the Rebs, Dan.
Yeah.
As I said last week on the previews, I think Florida State wins this one. I think their line's going to gobble up Ole Miss's offensive line, and I think they take Chad Kelly out of rhythm.
Interesting. Okay.
So this one to me reeks of a mismatch that benefits Florida State. That doesn't mean, though, that this game's going to be a runaway for Florida State. That's not what I'm saying. Ole Miss has a really good defense. They're not just going to roll over for Florida State. They can absolutely force Deandre Francois. I think they can force him to make some mistakes. I think they can hold down Dalvin Cook for a short period of time. But the issue that I have, that I keep coming back to, Ole Miss is almost entirely dependent on Chad Kelly. And if I know that, and if you know that, you better damn well believe Jimbo Fisher and Charles Kelly know it too.
Yeah.
So I like Florida State here. I think a closer game, but I think they're the better team, 27-21.
If it is closer, do you believe, I mean, I don't know how you could answer this affirmatively or negatively, but do you believe in Deandre Francois being forced to win this game? Because Ole Miss certainly is talented enough up front.
Yeah, they are.
To limit Dalvin Cook at times and force some passing downs. And while Florida State does have talented receivers, Deandre Francois has sort of been thrust into this position. And there have been reports that he's been the most impressive quarterback throughout camp and has a much higher upside and a better arm than Sean McGuire, but he's new. He has not shown it. Do you believe? Or is it just a matter of the defense and Dalvin is enough?
I think defense and Dalvin is enough. I also believe wholeheartedly in Deandre Francois.
Deandre Francois. Okay.
I do. I think he's going to be really good. Really, really good. If there's anything we've come to know about Jimbo Fisher, he can develop quarterbacks.
True.
So I feel pretty good about this situation. It may take him a while to fully gel and to fully show what he's made of. You're right. It's a tall order against Ole Miss. Week 1, neutral site game. I mean, this is a big game, no matter how you slice it. So
this is a team on a multiple game winning streak against Alabama.
Yeah, I don't think that you can bring a one-dimensional offense, which is what I'm calling Ole Miss. I've broken up with Ole Miss, as I mentioned before. I don't think you can take a one-dimensional offense down to the Citrus Bowl and beat Florida State.
Okay.
So they pull away. Probably a fun one to watch. Wouldn't surprise me if Ole Miss grabbed like an early lead, something like that. But let's say Florida State 27-21.
All right. I'm going to go. That's a good amount of points, I think, for this game. I think it's going to go a good back and forth. Some good offense, some good defense. I'm going to say Florida State wins this 24-21, and thus Ole Miss covers.
Okay.
How about that?
Before we get to some other games here, Dan, our second sponsor of the evening.
Who do we have?
We both know that football is your passion, Mr. Dan Rubenstein.
That is true.
You know all the players and the teams, their strengths, their weaknesses. I urge you, I implore you to put that knowledge to the test. Play for your shot, Dan Rubenstein, at $1 million. It's the top prize at DraftKings.com. It's just part of their $5 million in total prizes that they are doling out in their Week 1 contest. Go to DraftKings.com. Again, the destination for 1 week fantasy football. 1 week fantasy means no season-long commitments. You can play whenever you want with all the players you want. Pick your contest, draft your players, follow your team live. It's easy to do. Renew old rivalries by challenging friends and family in a private league, or prove that you are the superior GM in a public one. Here is all you need to do. Hurry on out to DraftKings.com right now. Choose your players you could seriously cash in on Week 1. Use the code SOLID, SOLID. Play for free with your first deposit. Did you catch that code, Dan?
Yes, I did. SOLID.
SOLID, SOLID. It is your chance to play for free for your share of the $5 million in total prizes in a Week 1 contest only at DraftKings.com. DraftKings.com. Of course, eligibility restrictions may apply, so check their website for details at DraftKings.com. All right, so some other games I'm going to go through rapid fire here. There are some contests on Thursday and Friday. And Saturday, there are games going on all weekend, just not ones that we featured. Thursday at 7 p.m., we've got App State at Tennessee. Tennessee, a 20-point favorite.
I'm going to go Tennessee.
Yeah. You at all interested in that game?
I kind of am. I'm not going to stay home for it, but I'll catch the second half of it when I do get home.
At 8 p.m., South Carolina at Vandy. Vandy, a 3.5-point favorite.
I'm going to go Vandy. I like that defense still.
The start of the Will Muschamp era. Will Muschamp 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
And at 9 p.m., there's a late game. Oregon State at Minnesota, -13. That's the game that's going to be kooky.
You think so? Okay.
Later-ish game in Minnesota. Two teams that are both under the radar. Yeah, that's going to be a weird one.
All right.
Friday night, we've got Kansas State at Stanford, 9 p.m. Eastern. Stanford, a 16-point favorite, Dan, going with Ryan Burns as their starting quarterback over Keller Christ.
Yeah, your company's computer guy. I think Stanford wins this game. The fact that it's at home, they don't have body clock issues, Ty.
Yeah.
I know you remember the body clock.
All too well.
Yeah, I think Stanford wins this game by 3 touchdowns.
And then on Saturday, a 7:30 a.m. kickoff.
Is that true?
Yeah, get the mimosas out. Aviva Stadium in Dublin, Ireland. Georgia Tech taking the triple option on the road. They're a 3.5-point favorite against Boston College.
Okay.
What do we got in Georgia Tech this year? Do you have any earthly idea?
Justin Thomas?
Other than Justin Thomas.
They're going to be a lot healthier on defense, which is pretty important to play football at a high level. So Boston College loses Doc Brown. They should be better on offense. The injuries should not mount as severely as they did last season. So I'm going to go Georgia Tech here. I don't feel particularly good about them.
12 p.m. after that one's over.
Mm-hmm.
High noon, East Coast, Missouri at West Virginia. West Virginia, a 9.5-point favorite.
Yeah. Nice little pillow fight between Missouri's offense and West Virginia's defense. Nice little pillow fight.
We need a pillow fight set.
I know.
I'm jotting that down. I'll do it.
Kappa new.
Yeah.
I think Missouri's defense is still good enough. I think Missouri probably gets edged out by 3 or 4 points.
All right.
Take up.
And then at 2 p.m., all the way on the left coast, Dan.
That's true.
Washington begins their march towards 15-0 and perfection.
Mm-hmm.
They are a 26-point home favorite against Rutgers.
The drive to 15 begins in earnest, and it's a 26-point line.
Yeah.
And that's is that just first half or is that the full game?
It doesn't specify here. I'm assuming It's the full game.
Full game. Okay. I'm going to take Washington, one of the easiest calls of the week.
All right. And 10:30 on Saturday. If you're still awake.
Sneaky fun game.
If you can outlast, outwit, and outplay all the other awesome games on Saturday, 10:30 p.m., Arizona, a 1-point favorite against BYU. This one being played in University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Dan. BYU, new coaching staff?
Yep, new systems on each side of the ball. A very old quarterback, though. Yeah, I'm going BYU here. Yeah, I think they control the line of scrimmage to the point where, Arizona, new defense under Marcel Yates. We might not even see a new Solomon start this game. He's listed as an or. So, yeah, I think the stability of BYU, I think they win this game.
Okay. Here is what I would urge people to do. Now that you've gotten our hot takes on all of the games.
So hot.
I have selected 10 games for all to pick against the spread.
Mm-hmm.
There was some confusion about where our pick'em pool was going to be located. As it were, CBS's pool stinks. Mm-hmm. So I have moved it over to foxsports.com where they do it right. You can get in now. Go to solidverbal.com/picks. Solidverbal.com/picks. PICKS.
Easy enough.
That will forward you over to our pick'em pool on foxsports.com. That's where you can play for free. Whoever wins, we're going to give you one of our spring t-shirts whenever we decide to draft those up.
Nice.
On the note of t-shirts, we've been selling them like hotcakes. Going out to solidverbal.com/store. We're going to continue offering those for sale for a couple more days, at which point we'll close it down, order them up. Everybody will have their shirts delivered in relatively short order. But there's still time if you're interested. Really cool shirts. Been selling them like mad. I'm excited to see how they turn out.
I like them a lot.
I think that's all for this show, Dan.
I disagree, Ty.
I think that's all we got football-wise.
I mean, I'm staring in the face the Patriot League Lightning Round.
Oh, funny you should mention that.
Oh, there it is. There it is, Ty.
Oh, yeah.
That wet, dripping, pulsating, clenching drum and fife.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, Lafayette opens the season on the road. The Road Dogs, the Leopards, the Road Leopards at Central, Connecticut at a root field. Lafayette is angry after last season. The coaches and the preseason polls are doing the Leps dirty. Lafayette has a chip on their Leopard shoulders. I like Lafayette big here. What about you?
I like Lafayette, although a root field's a tough place to play. Not going to lie.
It's a hornet's nest, Ty. It is a damn hornet's nest.
Named after Jack a Root, yeah.
I would assume so. All right, Colgate at Syracuse. The Gators traveling to the Carrier Dome to take on the Dinos.
Yeah.
Ty, does Colgate stand a chance against this Baylor style?
No.
Syracuse?
No.
Offense?
No.
Okay.
Give me Dino Babers here. Somebody, Mike, our good friend Mike on Facebook, posted the line here. I forget, I didn't see the line, but I like Syracuse. I like Syracuse.
Yeah, Gators are getting trampled here. Fordham Navy. Ty, Fordham, of course, losing Joe Moorhead to Penn State. Navy losing perhaps their best player ever in Keenan Reynolds. Your thoughts about Memorial Stadium and the Fordham Rams going into a new look Navy team?
Dan, Navy's a 26-point favorite here.
Sure.
They will not be covering that spread against Fordham.
Whoa.
Fordham's got too much this year. They're playing Ewing theory style without their former head football coach, Joe Moorhead. Give me Fordham here to cover.
I'm taking Fordham as well.
Yeah.
Lehigh Monmouth in Goodman Stadium.
Goodman Stadium's right down the road, dog. I could go there if I want to.
I think you should.
The solid wife is after me to go to a Lehigh game. I don't think this is the one.
Okay.
I'm going to go Lehigh. I got to go Lehigh.
I'm going Lehigh as well. Georgetown, Davidson. Georgetown, the Frauds. And is it still multi-sport field?
It is still multi-sport field.
I thought it was Simmons something, but maybe that hasn't started yet. Simmons Stadium?
It's always multi-sport stadium
in
our hearts, Dan.
It is always multi-sport field. Georgetown, Davidson. Love Georgetown here. Steph Curry is not walking through that tunnel.
No.
Okay. So we agree.
You don't come to multi-sport field. Push around
talking that mess.
Yeah.
Holy Cross, Morgan State on the road. Holy Cross, noted road dog, going to Hughes Stadium, Baltimore.
Yeah.
I'm going Morgan State. I'm feeling good about Morgan State. I think Holy Cross is a bit of a fraud this year. I think they've been inflated a little bit.
I'm going Crusaders. They got the holiness on their side here.
Okay, fair enough. Bucknell at Marist.
Isn't Marist a really good rowing school?
I would have no idea, but I stake a claim. I put my sword down, and I am anti-Poughkeepsie and have been for quite some time. So I am going Bucknell. I'm going the Bison here.
Listen, Bucknell is a bunch of frauds. You don't go to Tenney. You don't go to Tenney Stadium.
I'm there. I'm in there.
You don't go to Poughkeepsie, Dan.
I'm marking my territory.
Not up in here. Give me Marist. I'm going Marist.
We disagree.
I am going Marist.
Well, whatever.
I'm sweating in here.
Nobody's perfect.
I'm fired up.
All right. Anything else?
You tell me, Mr. Rubenstein, what's going on with you? I understand we have some news.
Yeah, do you want to play breaking news?
We can play breaking news.
It's not breaking news because it's been broken, but go for it.
Breaking news!
Boop, 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 boop. Dan's engaged.
Whoa!
Yeah.
So you got to explain your scheme. Tell us your scheme. Congratulations from me. Congratulations from the Ballerhood.
Yes.
How'd you do it?
I came up with a somewhat elaborate scheme. I took the now solid fiance. Are we referring to her?
I think there is a new sheriff in town.
Yeah, the solid fiance. I said I was going to take her to brunch Saturday morning, which was our 2-year anniversary on the dot. So to the day, which gave me a nice little umbrella to play with. That I could say, oh, we're doing this for our anniversary. Told her I had booked a nice brunch for 10:30 because I didn't want her to come out in sweatpants if we were going to be taking pictures, perhaps. So we're going to brunch, as far as she knows, 10:30 brunch, and then we approach a movie theater, and I tell her, oh, I have a fun anniversary gift. I've rented out a theater, and I'm going to show you your favorite movie as just sort of a fun screening thing for our anniversary. She looked a little bit skeptical, but we went, I think, for Valentine's Day last year for like a brunch movie thing, and it made sense in her head enough to the point where she came to the theater. I started screening Clueless, which works on a couple levels, actually. Great movie.
Yeah.
Which she likes a lot. And about 8 minutes in, the movie cuts. All of a sudden, it's middle of a scene with Cher, Alicia Silverstone, and Josh, Paul Rudd. Cuts to me sitting down Washington Square Park, where we went on an early date. And I am talking to camera, and there's music, and I'm telling her how much I love her, which is true, and things like that. And then I am cut off by a montage of her friends, video after video after video, telling her to pay attention. Because the lady friend, the solid fiance, while watching movies and TV, has the attention span of an avocado.
Okay.
Or falls asleep.
Right.
And so one after the other, pay attention. Don't think about work. Don't fall asleep. Don't check Instagram, whatever. Pay attention. Then it comes back to me, Washington Square Park, back to more friends telling her to pay attention, back to me, and then I toss it to myself in the theater, present day Dan, to do his thing. And at which point I proposed. Then we leave the theater, and she did say yes.
Okay, I was going to ask. That's an important question.
She did say yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She put the ring on the wrong hand.
Okay.
Initially, we fixed it.
Classic mix-up.
She didn't answer me right away. I said, hey, not in this way. Will you marry me? And she just sort of said, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Oh my God. And put the ring on. And I was like, just for my sake, I'm going to need an actual answer.
Yeah, we need to make this legal.
I need to check off a couple boxes. And she said yes. Then we left the theater, and I told her that my brother, who lives nearby, had dropped off some actual brunch, and we could go there and be comfortable, and she could call people, whatever. We get back to my apartment, and there waiting for us is Jimbo Fisher. Now, is a collection. It's a collection of her friends and family, and we ate really good sandwiches and cake and champagne, and it was really good. And she was shocked by that as well. When you walk into my apartment, you have to sort of round a corner to get to the open area, the kitchen and the living room. And she rounded the corner, and they all just started cheering. And then she jumped back behind the corner, freaked out. So it was really good. The big thing for me that I had to figure out, so I'm not good with logistics. I had to figure out, because ahead of time, with my ring case, with the ring box, it is a thicker box that I could not really put into my shorts pocket without it looking ridiculous. Like I had like a robot boner or something.
Sure, right.
So if the solid fiance's parents are listening to this, please excuse that terminology. So I had to figure out a way to transport the ring box. It was a thicker box because I knew I was going to be doing this in a theater, and there's a little light in the box. So when you open up the box, you can see the ring sort of sparkle a little bit.
Were you at all concerned that you might lose that ring box?
So I didn't get it until Wednesday. This happened Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So I basically had to transport it from work, which is where I had it shipped because we live together. Had it sent to work, brought it home in my bag.
Yeah.
And then immediately, and solid fiance was not home, I have a big crate of shoes that some I wear, some I don't wear. And there was a pair of basketball shoes that I haven't actually worn. They're given to me as a gift. And I just sort of stuffed it in there and then put it upside down and a bunch of shoes on top. There was no way she was going to be digging through there for shoes.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it was in a safe place. The key was that morning I had to transfer it to however I was going to transfer the ring to the theater. And I figured out a solution a couple days beforehand. So when we go out to eat sometimes, or we're just like walking around the neighborhood, I will take my camera. I have a point and shoot, a mirrorless camera, and I don't wear it around my neck. I have a belt pack that looks like a dorky dad.
Sure.
Just a side fanny kind of thing.
Because you're 45 years old, right?
I'm 45 years. I'm 53 years old, whatever I am.
You look young.
Thank you. And so I took the camera out of that and put the ring box in there because that actually looks normal. Even though it looks weird for normal people, that is my normal. So I had the ring box in there so it wouldn't protrude from the pocket. And then it was all smooth once we were in the theater. And now we're engaged. It's great. So I don't know. So who won the bet? When was the over-under and who won the bet?
So there's been a dark email thread.
Yeah.
It's not so dark that you didn't know about it.
Right.
But there were a number of folks on this thread between one Ryan Nanny and some of your friends from home, and of course your brother.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that it was going to happen this year, and we figured it was either going to be August before the season started,
right,
or sometime in later December.
Okay.
Your brother, Alex,
he nailed it, right?
Your brother Alex was adamant about the fact that it was going to occur in August. Everybody else seemed pretty adamant that it was going to occur at least in late December, if not later.
Wow. So not this year.
And so me as an odds maker face this dilemma. I'm trying to promote equal action on both sides.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
That is the job of the lines maker.
Right.
And at one point I mentioned that I thought it could be August, but then there was a lot of push towards later in the year. So the official over-under was December 23rd.
Okay.
And you hit the under, sir. So congratulations.
Yeah.
I will clap for you again.
Hey,
you made a wise
thanks.
decision. The solid fiance is a sweetheart. I wish you guys nothing but the best. And there may be a package at your door from the solid wife and I in a few short days. I wish you nothing but the best. That's so exciting.
I don't anticipate a long engagement, but I anticipate a lot of good discussion on more wedding planning, just with the roles flipped. And I am very happy. Life is great.
Well, I'm very happy for you.
Could not have happened during the season. So
No.
you were right to assume that.
Yep. This podcast has seen us both grow up.
We've come so far.
What a great way to start off the college football season on this week one show. Send Dan your best. He's at Dan Rubenstein on Twitter.
Ooh.
We are at Solid Verbal on Twitter. Tweet him your congratulations. Tweet him until he can't take any more tweets. It's an exciting time. So congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. So again, after you're done congratulating Dan, do watch the games. Do listen to our show. Do tell all your friends about this show. We're going to release it early for all you all just because week one is so exciting. We are so looking forward to it. And even as you're watching the games, you got 3 days, 4 days, 5 days even to watch the games, to imbibe all that is going on in the college football ether, and then give us a call at 408-VERBAL-1 or at 408-837-2251. When all is said and done, we're going to cut those up, put them together in our reverb segment, and we'll review the games at some point this weekend. Not exactly sure when, but we'll let y'all know.
Wait.
For that guy over there, Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildebrand. Thanks again for tuning in all off season. We look forward to another season with you. By all means, stay solid.
Peace.